My boss invited me for drinks, but what he confessed under the lights shook me. The city that never sleeps had finally caught its breath, or so it seemed, as the last echoes of Friday night faded into the humid August haze of Manhattan. I was nursing a whiskey sour at the edge of the rooftop bar, the kind of place where Wall Street wolves shed their ties and pretend to be human. The lights of the Empire State Building pulsed like a heartbeat in the distance, mocking my own erratic rhythm. My name's Alex Harper, 28, a mid-level designer at Apex Innovations, scraping by on caffeine and deadlines in a cubicle that smelled faintly of printer ink and regret. I climbed the ladder just high enough to see how precarious it all was. One wrong pitch and I'd tumble back to freelance gigs and ramen nights. That's when he appeared, like a shadow detaching from the neon glow. Richard Hale, my boss. The boss, 45, broad-shouldered, with that effortless command that made boardrooms bend to his will. His dark hair was streaked with silver, his jawline sharp enough to cut glass, and those green eyes, God, they could disarm a room without a word. He was American through and through, born in Chicago, raised on grit and ambition, the kind of guy who'd turned a startup into a tech empire by sheer force of charisma. Tonight, he wasn't in his usual power suit. Just a crisp white shirt rolled to the elbows, sleeves hugging forearms that spoke of weekend hikes upstate. He slid onto the stool next to mine, the faint scent of his cologne, sandalwood and something earthier, cutting through the bar's haze of cigarette smoke and spilled gin. "Alex," he said, voice low and gravelly, like tires on wet pavement. "You look like you could use another." He signaled the bartender without breaking eye contact, and suddenly there was a fresh glass in my hand, amber liquid swirling like liquid fire. My pulse kicked up. Richard didn't do casual chats. He was the man who fired you with a smile and a severance check that felt like pity. But here we were, under the string lights that dangled like forgotten stars, the bass from the DJ's set throbbing through the floorboards. We talked shop at first, the upcoming launch for our AI app, the way my mock-ups had saved his ass in the last investor meeting. His laugh rumbled deep, genuine, not the polished bark he reserved for conference calls. I felt it in my chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the whiskey. I'd always admired him, sure. Who wouldn't? But lately it was more. Stolen glances during late nights at the office, the brush of his hand when passing a file, lingering just a beat too long. I was gay, out to a few friends but closeted at work, where the bro-code vibe still reigned supreme. And Richard? The rumors swirled. Divorced. No kids. A string of high-profile dates with models that screamed cover-up. But his eyes on me tonight, they held something heavier. The drinks kept coming, the crowd thinning as midnight bled into 1 a.m. The air grew thicker, charged, like the storm clouds gathering over the Hudson. He leaned in closer, his knee grazing mine under the bar, sending a jolt straight to my core. "You know," he murmured, fingers tracing the rim of his glass, "I've been watching you, not just your work. You." My breath hitched, the world narrowing to the heat of his proximity, the faint stubble shadowing his jaw. Was this a setup? A test? Or worse? Pity from the man who held my career in his palm? Then he confessed, not with words at first, but with a sigh that escaped him like a dam breaking long, ragged, carrying the weight of years unspoken. "Alex, I'm tired of pretending." His voice cracked on the last word, and the lights above us flickered, casting shadows that danced across his face like ghosts. He told me everything. The marriage to Sarah, a college sweetheart who'd known he was gay from day one but stayed for the facade. The suburban house in Connecticut that echoed with silence. The parade of beards and blind dates to keep the investors happy. And me, God, me. From the moment you walked into that interview, sketching ideas on a napkin like it was nothing, you saw me, the real me, not the CEO bullshit. His hand found mine then, callous thumb brushing my knuckles, rough from years of shaking hands that sealed deals but never touched a soul. I froze, heart slamming against my ribs like a trapped bird. The bar's murmur faded to a dull roar, drowned by the rush in my ears. Shock? Yeah, that hit first sharp as shattered glass. But beneath it, a flood of something electric, terrifying. Desire, relief, fear. What if this was career suicide? What if he was just drunk, vulnerable under the lights that made his eyes shimmer like emeralds? Richard? I whispered, my voice barely audible over the clink of ice in his glass. It could ruin everything. He pulled back slightly, but his gaze held mine, raw and unfiltered, the vulnerability cracking through his armor like lightning splitting the sky. We didn't speak for what felt like hours, just sat there as the bartender called last call, the city's hum vibrating through the metal railing. His confession hung between us, heavy as the humidity clinging to our skin. I could smell the rain coming now, sharp and metallic, mingling with the whiskey on his breath. My mind raced. Images of HR memos, whispered office gossip, the cold slap of rejection if I pushed too far. But his touch lingered, a promise or a plea, and in that suspended moment, under the fading glow of the rooftop lights, I felt the first crack in my own walls. As we stumbled out into the elevator, shoulders brushing in the dim confines, the doors closing with a soft whoosh that sealed us in our private storm. His hand hovered near my waist, not quite touching, the air between us crackling. "Come back to my place," he said, not a question, his voice husky with need. I nodded, throat tight, the decision made before my brain caught up. The cab ride blurred, horns blaring, neon signs streaking past like comets. His fingers interlaced with mine on the leather seat, squeezing as if anchoring us both. My apartment was a shoebox in Brooklyn. His penthouse overlooked Central Park, all sleek lines and floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the glittering chaos below. Inside, the door clicked shut, and the world outside vanished. He poured us scotch from a crystal decanter, the liquid glugging softly, then led me to the terrace. Rain pattered against the glass now, a gentle rhythm that matched the pounding in my chest. We stood there, glasses in hand, the city lights smearing into halos through the downpour. "I never thought I'd say it," he admitted, setting his drink down with a clink that echoed too loud. "Not to you. Not like this." His confession spilled out in fragments. Nights alone, staring at the ceiling, imagining my laugh in the hallway. The terror of board meetings where a stray glance could unravel it all. I listened, breath shallow, the scotch burning a path down my throat, warming the chill of fear. When he kissed me, it was tentative at first. A brush of lips, tasting of salt and secrets. Then fierce, his hands framing my face as if I might vanish. I melted into it, fingers tangling in his shirt, the fabric cool against my heated skin. Thunder rumbled outside, vibrating the windows, mirroring the storm inside me. We moved to the couch, bodies colliding in a tangle of limbs and whispered names, his stubble grazing my neck, drawing a gasp that tasted like freedom. But even as pleasure crested, doubt whispered. Was this real, or just the lights playing tricks? Dawn crept in slow, painting the room in soft grays. I woke to the scent of coffee brewing, his side of the bed empty but warm. Richard stood at the window, back to me, shoulders tense under the thin robe. "Morning?" I murmured, voice rough from sleep and screams we'd muffled into pillows. He turned, smile faint but genuine, eyes shadowed. "Alex, last night." The words hung, unfinished. We both knew the precipice we teetered on. Professional lines blurred, hearts exposed. Over breakfast, black coffee and croissants from the corner bakery, flaky and buttery. He laid it out. He'd step back from direct oversight, reassign my projects to HR's neutral ground. "I won't let this tank you," he said, fork pausing midair, the clatter of utensils the only sound breaking the tension. But the real shake came later, in the elevator descending to the lobby. His phone buzzed. A text from his ex. "Sarah?" Cryptic. "We need to talk. The truth's out." Richard's face drained of color, hand gripping the rail until knuckles whitened. She knows. He breathed, voice a hollow echo. My stomach dropped. How? A leak from the bar? Gossip already spreading like wildfire through the firm's Slack channels? The doors dinged open to a lobby buzzing with early commuters, but we stood frozen, the weight of exposure crashing down like the rain from last night. By noon, the office was a minefield. Whispers slithered through the open-plan floor. Did you hear about Hale? With Harper? Eyes darted, judgments veiled behind forced smiles. My inbox pinged with polite emails reassigning me to a special project under a new lead, effective immediately. Isolation hit like a gut punch, the familiar hum of printers now a mocking dirge. Richard avoided my desk, but I caught glimpses. Him in his glass-walled office, pacing, phone pressed to his ear, voice rising in clipped arguments. That evening, alone in my apartment, the city's roar filtered through cracked windows. I scrolled through my phone, heart heavy. A voicemail from him. Alex, meet me at the park, bench by the fountain. Please. The plea in his tone undid me. I went, dusk settling like a bruise over Central Park, leaves rustling underfoot with a crisp autumn edge despite the summer heat wave breaking. He was there, hands shoved in pockets, collar unbuttoned, looking every bit the man unraveling. Sarah's filing papers, he said without preamble, sitting beside me, our thighs pressing together on the cold iron. But it's not just that. The board, they're circling. Accusations of favoritism, conflicts of interest. His laugh was bitter, wind carrying it away like smoke. I reached for his hand, intertwining fingers, the calluses grounding me. Then fight it, I said, voice steady despite the tremor in my chest. Rain started again, light at first, pattering on the fountain's surface like hesitant applause. He turned, eyes searching mine, the vulnerability from last night stripped bare in daylight. With you, the question hung, fragile as the droplets beating on his lashes. I nodded, pulling him closer, our foreheads touching, breaths mingling in the damp air. In that moment, under the park's sodium lamps flickering to life, the confession that shook me transformed. Not into ruin, but a spark. Weeks blurred into a haze of damage control and stolen moments, the kind that tasted like rebellion. The board's inquiry loomed like a guillotine, emails laced with legalese that made my palms sweat just reading them. Richard threw himself into it. Late nights in his office, the glow of his laptop casting harsh shadows on walls lined with awards that suddenly felt hollow. I'd sneak in after hours, bearing takeout from the halal cart down the block, steam rising from falafel wraps, the spicy tang cutting through the stale air of fluorescent burnout. One such night, as thunder growled over the skyline, we spread files across his desk, highlighters slashing yellow through dense paragraphs. His tie hung loose, top button undone, revealing a sliver of collarbone I traced with my gaze. This clause here, I said, leaning over, my arm brushing his. Electricity sparked, familiar now, but no less potent. He captured my wrist, thumb circling the pulse point, eyes darkening. Alex, we can't. Not here. But his protest dissolved as I kissed him, slow and deliberate, the taste of black coffee lingering on his tongue. We made love on the leather couch, urgent and quiet, his hands mapping my body like uncharted territory, fingers splaying across my ribs, eliciting shivers that had nothing to do with the AC's chill. Afterward, tangled in his jacket for a blanket, rain lashing the windows and sheets, he confessed more fragments. His first crush, a college roommate whose rejection had sent him spiraling into the closet. The therapy sessions he'd abandoned, too ashamed to unpack the layers. You're the first person who's made me want to try again, he whispered, voice muffled against my hair, the admission raw as an open wound. Morning brought reality's slap, a memo from HR, temporary leave for me, pending investigation. I packed my desk in a cardboard box that smelled of dust and finality, colleagues averting eyes. Their sympathy curdled into awkward silence. Richard cornered me in the stairwell, concrete echoing our footsteps. "This is bullshit," he growled, pinning me gently against the railing, his body a shield. "I'll fix it." But doubt gnawed at me, the scent of his aftershave clashing with the metallic tang of panic. What if fixing it meant losing us? Sarah's involvement escalated, her lawyer's letters arriving like grenades. Turns out, a bartender from the rooftop, eager for a payout, had sold the story to a tabloid, photos grainy but damning. Our hands linked in the cab, his arm around my waist exiting the bar. Headlines screamed tech titan's secret affair. Apex CEO caught in gay scandal. The office fractured. Supporters whispering encouragements in passing. Detractors sneering in group chats I wasn't privy to anymore. Richard's ex wasn't just divorcing. She was demanding half the company, citing moral turpitude as leverage. Her voice on his voicemails sharp as shattered ice. I crashed at his penthouse more nights than not, the space transforming from sterile showroom to sanctuary. We'd cook, him chopping onions with inefficient fury, me stirring pasta sauce that bubbled with garlic and basil, filling the kitchen with homey warmth that chased away the chill of uncertainty. One evening, as sauce simmered, he pulled me into a slow dance. No music but the sizzle of the pan and distant traffic hum. His cheek against mine, stubble rasping softly. He murmured, "I love you." The words landed like a stone in still water, ripples spreading through my chest. I froze, then melted, whispering back, "I love you too." The confession sealing something irrevocable. But love didn't shield us from the storm. The board summoned Richard for a closed-door grilling, emerging hours later with his face ashen. Thai askew. Over wine that night, bold Cabernet staining our lips red, he revealed the ultimatum. Step down as CEO or face ouster. "They want a clean slate," he said, glass trembling in his grip, the clink against the table jarring. Tears welled, unbidden, tracking down his cheek, a sight that twisted my gut. This man, who'd commanded empires, reduced to this by truths he'd hidden too long. I held him then, on the terrace as city lights twinkled indifferently below, rain misting our skin. "Then let's burn it down," I said, half joking, my voice fierce with the protectiveness surging in me. He laughed, a broken sound that ended in a sob, pulling me closer until our heartbeats synced, thunderous and defiant. That night, sleep evaded us. Instead, we talked futures, relocating to his cabin upstate, me freelancing designs for indie startups, him consulting on the side. Dreams spun like smoke, fragile but vivid. The tabloid frenzy peaked midweek, paparazzi swarming the lobby like vultures, flashes popping like gunfire. I dodged them via the service entrance, heart hammering, the elevators ding a mocking fanfare. At a coffee shop refuge, steaming lattes frothing with cinnamon, my best friend, Mia, cornered me over Zoom. "Alex, this is insane. He's your boss. What if he bails when the heat's off?" Her words stung, doubts echo, but I saw Richard's face in my mind, vulnerable, real, and shoved it down. "He's all in?" I insisted, though my voice wavered, the barista's espresso grinder whirring like accusation. Richard's response came that afternoon. A press release, drafted with his PR team's reluctant blessing. Apex Innovation stands for innovation and inclusion. Personal matters do not define professional integrity. It was a shield, thin but gleaming. Supporters rallied, clients emailing solidarity, employees starting a petition for his retention. Yet Sarah struck back, leaking emails from their marriage counseling, painting him as deceitful, predatory. The narrative twisted, and suddenly I was the ambitious intern climbing bedsheets, not the designer who'd earned every accolade. Isolation deepened. My phone buzzed with blocked numbers, voicemails laced with slurs that made bile rise. Richard found me curled on his couch one night, box of Chinese takeout untouched, the soy sauce scent turning my stomach. He knelt, cupping my face, thumbs wiping tears I hadn't realized fell. "We're in this," he vowed, kiss fierce. tasting of mint and resolve. We retreated to the bedroom, bodies seeking solace in rhythm. Slow, exploratory, his whispers of affirmation chasing shadows. Dawn found us entwined, sunlight slanting through blinds in golden bars, birdsong filtering from the park like a tentative truce. But the board's vote loomed, a guillotine's shadow. Richard prepared in solitude, pacing the living room, Scotch glass sweating condensation onto coasters. I watched from the doorway, heart aching at his isolation. "Let me help?" I offered, crossing to him, hands on his shoulders, feeling tension coiled like springs. He leaned into me, sigh escaping like steam. "You already are." We reviewed slides together, data projections, legacy pitches, my input sharpening edges, his charisma the blade. As midnight tolled, he set the laptop aside, pulling me onto his lap, kisses deepening until strategy yielded to surrender. The morning of the vote, he left early, suit impeccable, cologne sharp. I paced the penthouse, coffee cooling untouched, the tick of the wall clock amplified in silence. Texts from him. "In the room. Wish me luck." Then nothing. Hours stretched, agony in every unanswered ping. Finally, a call. His voice steady but edged. "They kept me. Barely." Relief crashed, but laced with caution. "Conditions." I pressed, sinking onto the bed, sheets still rumpled from our last night. "Discretion." And "distance professionally." The word hung, a velvet-wrapped barb. We celebrated quietly that evening. Steak from a neighborhood grill, juicy and rare, red wine flowing like blood. Toasts clinked, glasses chiming softly, but undercurrents swirled. His hand on my knee under the table, possessive yet tentative. "This changes things," he admitted later. As we washed dishes side by side, suds foaming white, water splashed, warm on my skin, his proximity a comfort. But not us. I turned, drying hands on a towel, pulling him close. The kiss was salt-tanged, promising, but doubt lingered. What distance meant in practice, how love survived spotlights. Fall crept in on crisp winds, leaves carpeting Central Park in fiery reds and golds, crunching underfoot like brittle promises. The scandals blazed dim to embers, tabloids chasing fresher prey, the office settling into wary normalcy. My special project morphed into a remote gig, designing for Apex's satellite clients from Richard's guest room, which I'd claimed as a studio. Sun streamed through wide windows, illuminating sketches pinned to corkboards, the faint charcoal smudge on my fingers a badge of creation. But proximity bred its own tensions. Mornings, he'd brush past in towel-clad haste to the shower, steam curling like invitations I learned to ignore. We navigated the distance with gritted teeth, professional emails clipped and formal, signed best RH, each one a paper cut. Evenings thawed the ice, him loosening his tie with a weary groan, me uncorking Pinot Noir that breathed notes of cherry and earth. Conversations meandered from work woes to childhood tales. His Chicago winters sledding down icy hills, laughter echoing in blizzards. My Jersey Shore summers, waves crashing salty and wild. Intimacy rebuilt in layers. A shared blanket during Netflix binges. His head on my lap, fingers idly stroking his hair, soft as whispered secrets. Yet fractures spiderwebbed. Sarah's divorce dragged, depositions summoning ghosts. Her tearful accounts of lonely holidays, his cold detachment. Richard returned from one session hollow-eyed, slamming the door with a thud that rattled the vase on the entry table. "She said I never loved her," he muttered, shrugging off his coat, the wool heavy with rain. I drew him to the couch, arms encircling, his body sagging against mine. "You didn't," I said gently, hand rubbing circles on his back, feeling muscles a knot. "But that's not failure. That's honesty." He turned, burying face in my neck, breath hot and uneven. "What if I can't be honest with myself?" Therapy beckoned again, a siren he'd ignored too long. I nudged, over breakfasts of scrambled eggs fluffy with chives, the sizzle of the pan punctuating my pleas. For us, I urged, fork scraping plate. He relented, sessions slotted into lunch hours, emerging with journals clutched like lifelines, snippets shared over dinner, unpacking internalized shame, the Catholic upbringing that branded desire as sin. His voice softened, recounting breakthroughs, eyes brighter, the weight lifting visibly. I swelled with pride, but envy flickered. His growth spotlighted my stagnation, my own closet at work, a chain I hadn't forged keys for. Holiday season descended, Manhattan aglow with twinkling wreaths and Salvation Army bells tolling like carols. We hosted a small gathering, close friends, Mia included, toasting with eggnog spiked sharp with rum. Laughter bounced off walls decked in garlands, pine scent mingling with cinnamon cookies baking. Richard charmed, anecdotes flowing like the mulled wine. But I caught his glances, loaded with unspoken "this is ours." Later, as guests departed in a flurry of hugs and scarves, he pulled me into the bedroom, door clicking shut. "Thank you," he breathed, hands framing my face, kiss deepening to devour doubts. Christmas Eve, we escaped to his upstate cabin. Snow-dusted pines whispering in wind, fireplace crackling with logs that popped and hissed. Bundled in flannel, we trudged trails, boots sinking into powder, breaths clouding white. At a frozen pond, he skated circles around me, grace surprising, laughter bubbling free. I joined, wobbling, his gloved hands steadying, pulling me into spins that left us breathless. Back inside, mulled cider steaming, we decorated a tree, ornaments tinkling, lights strung warm. As Bing Crosby crooned on the radio, static-laced, he hung a photo. Us at the park bench, candid and blurry, but real. "Our first anchor," he said, voice thick. New Year's brought resolutions and reckonings. Fireworks boomed over the city, visible from the penthouse terrace, champagne flutes clinking as we counted down. His kiss at midnight was fervent, tasting of bubbles and beginnings. But dawn ushered clarity. A bored email, praising quarterly gains but hinting at image refresh. Code for PR spin on his personal life. Richard's jaw tightened over coffee, mug gripped white-knuckled. "They want me to date publicly. Hetero optics." The words landed like ash, bitter on my tongue. Rage simmered, but I channeled it, drafting a counterproposal, bullet points sharp as icicles. Diversity stats, allyship initiatives to flip the narrative. He reviewed it late that night, desk lamp pooling yellow, his nod slow. "You're brilliant." Pride warmed, but so did fear. What if brilliance wasn't enough? We argued then, first real fracture. Me pushing for him to come out fully, him cautioning restraint, voices rising over the hum of the fridge. "I won't hide us forever," I snapped, chair scraping back. He reached, but I paced, heart thudding. Silence stretched, broken by his sigh, deep, conciliatory. "You're right, but give me time." Spring thawed the city, cherry blossoms shedding petals like confetti on windswept streets. My freelance portfolio swelled, offers trickling from queer-owned startups, validating the path we'd carved. Richard's therapy deepened. He invited me to a session, walls papered in soothing blues, the therapist's nod encouraging. Sitting side by side, hands linked under the chair, he voiced fears. Losing apex, alienating family. I echoed support, voice steady. The room's clock ticking like a metronome to our truths. Apex's annual gala loomed, black tie opulence at the Met, chandeliers dripping crystal. Richard asked me as his +1, not date. But close, the invitation slipped into my sketchbook with a pressed flower. Excitement buzzed, tempered by nerves. Whispers would fly. I rented a tux, slim cut, the tailor's pins pricking like omens. The night arrived, air humming with strings and clinking stems, gowns swirling like auroras. He looked devastating, tux hugging broad shoulders, cufflinks glinting. Arm linked with mine, we entered, heads high, though my pulse thrummed audible. Toasts flowed, speeches lauding innovation, but undercurrents swirled. Stares lingering, murmurs behind fans. A venture capitalist cornered us. Champagne flute tilted. Words slurred. Bold move hail. PR gold or suicide? Richard's smile was steel, retort quipping, but his grip on my elbow tightened, knuckles blanching. We danced later, waltz formal yet intimate, his hand warm at my waist, orchestra swelling romantic. Whispers peaked, but in his eyes, only us, green depths promising forever. Post-gala, in the limo's leather cocoon, partition up, he kissed me fiercely, tie loosening under my fingers. Proud of you, I gasped, city lights streaking past. Home, we shed layers, bodies urgent against silk sheets. Moans muffled into pillows as rain pattered renewed. Dawn brought headlines. Hale's gala gambit. Power couple or power play? The spin was mixed. Some praising authenticity, others decrying distraction. Richard's phone rang incessantly, but he silenced it, rolling to face me. Let them talk. We're real. Yet reality bit. Sarah's final hearing approached, assets divvied like war spoils. She confronted him in a cafe, neutral ground, croissants flaky uneaten. I waited blocks away, pacing under awnings, coffee sloshing cold. He emerged drained, but lighter. It's done, he said, hailing a cab, rain sheeting down. She wished us well, said it's about time. Relief mingled with melancholy. Closure for him, a chapter one glimpsed but never owned. Summer heat baked the streets, AC units groaning like exhausted lovers. We vacationed in Provincetown. Beaches white sand, gulls crying overhead, rainbow flags snapping in breeze. Hand in hand on dunes, waves lapping turquoise, he proposed, not ring, but words. Build this life with me. No more hiding. Tears stung, saltier than sea spray. I yesed, kissing him as tide pulled back, shells crunching underfoot. Back in the city, momentum built like a gathering swell. Richard's coming out op-ed landed in the New York Times. Penned in his office till 3 a.m., words wrestled onto page amid coffee rings and crumpled drafts. From closet to corner office. Why authenticity fuels innovation. It hit like a thunderclap, shares exploding, allies amplifying. The board grumbled but conceded. Stock ticked up, investors citing forward-thinking leadership. Pride swelled in me, reading it over breakfast, bagel crumbs scattering, his foot nudging mine under the table. A silent we did this. Office reintegration was tentative. My return announced via email, projects reinstated with fanfare that felt forced. Colleagues clapped. Some genuine, others obligatory. But the air hummed electric, judgments lingering like ozone after lightning. Richard kept distance, nods in hallways crisp, but lunch breaks found us in Central Park, benches shielding stolen bites of sandwiches, mustard sharp on turkey, his knee pressing mine under the tablecloth of autumn leaves. Challenges persisted. A client pulled out, citing distractions. Their CEO's email curt as a slammed door. Richard absorbed it in a meeting, face impassive, but later, in the shower's steam-shrouded veil, he raged, fists against tile, water cascading like tears. I joined, soaping his back, thumbs kneading knots, whispers soothing, their loss. He turned, water sluicing between us, kissed desperate, bodies sliding slick until release washed tension away, drain gurgling evidence. Family reckonings surfaced. His sister, Elena, flew in from Chicago, petite, sharp-tongued, hugging him fierce at JFK, then eyeing me appraisingly over deep dish pizza, cheese stretching gooey strings. So, you're the one who thawed the Ice King, she teased, elbow nudging. But her gaze softened, stories spilling of his protective youth, shielding her from bullies. Acceptance bloomed tentative, over wine that loosened tongues, her toast clinking. To truths told late but loud. My own family loomed, Jersey roots conservative. Dad's garage radio tuned to talk shows decrying agendas. The call came post-Thanksgiving, turkey grease still slick on plates. I paced the kitchen, linoleum cool under socks, Richard's hand on my shoulder anchor. Dad, there's someone. A man. Silence stretched, static crackling, then a gruff. As long as he treats you right. No fanfare, but the lack of fracture healed something jagged. Mom's follow-up baked goods arrived, cookies lumpy with love. Note tucked. Bring him next time. Apex's Pride initiative launched, my designs front and center. Rainbow-infused logos pulsing vibrant on billboards, Subway ads humming with inclusivity. The reveal party buzzed. Cocktails effervescent, speeches lauding Richard's vision, confetti bursting like joy. He pulled me aside mid-toast, alcove shadowed, lips brushing ear. This is you. Us. Heat flushed, but so did resolve. I was done shadowing. Freelance calls escalated. Queer media outlets seeking my story. Podcasts probing the muse behind the mogul. I demurred at first, voice tentative on calls. Receiver slick with nerves, but Richard encouraged. Own it. My essay followed his From Cubicle to Catalyst. Loving out loud in corporate America. Published in Out magazine, words raw with vulnerability, the click of keys echoing late nights. Responses flooded. DMs of thanks from closeted colleagues. Shares rippling through networks. Intimacy evolved, deepening beyond physical mornings tangled in sheets, sunlight dappling skin. His fingers tracing tattoos I'd hidden, stories unfolding with each swirl. We argued more, healthily. Over chores, him loading dishwasher haphazard, plates clattering. Me insisting on grocery lists, aisles navigated like battlefields, laughter diffusing barbs. Vacations punctuated, road trip to the Grand Canyon, RV rumbling dusty highways, stars blanketing nights as we camped, fire crackling, marshmallows toasting golden, his head on my chest stargazing. Crisis struck autumnal. A whistleblower leak. Internal emails twisted to suggest favoritism in my promotions. HR summoned us separately, conference room sterile with coffee urn gurgling accusatory. Richard's testimony was measured, facts unassailable, but eyes betrayed fury. Mine followed, voice steady recounting merits, portfolio spread like armor. Cleared, but scars lingered. Trust eroded in corners, glances wary. Winter gripped again, holidays laced with intention. We hosted Elena and her kids. Chaos of toys scattering, laughter ricocheting off walls, turkey basting aromatic. Richard carved with precision, knife slicing clean, passing plate steaming. Post-feast, kids asleep, we sipped port by the tree, ornaments twinkling, his arm heavy around me. Family, he murmured, the word weighted, healing. New Year birthed ambitions. Richard mentoring queer startups. Board seat yielded to a diverse slate. Me launching a design collective, website live with fanfare, cursor clicking publish a thrill. But personal tempests brewed. His therapy unearthed abandonment fears, sessions spilling into evenings, couch sagging under confessions, my listening a bomb. You're not leaving, I affirmed, palms cupping his, pulse sinking. Spring Gala Redux. Bolder now, his hand in mine openly entering, flashes popping unheeded. Speeches wove our narrative, applause thundering, champagne toasting futures. On the dance floor, waltz intimate, whispers lost in strings. Forever, his nod, eyes shining. Home, lovemaking languid, exploring anew. His gasps mapping trust, my touches etching commitment. Summer solstice, we exchanged rings. Simple platinum, engraved under the lights. On that Provincetown dune, waves chanting approval, gulls wheeling overhead. Vows exchanged, salt-kissed. Through scandals and spotlights, I choose you. Tears mingled with sea mist, embrace fierce as horizon. Yet autumn winds whispered tests. Apex merger talks, competitors sniffing weakness. Late nights strategizing, whiteboards scrawled frantic, pizza boxes stacking greasy. Stress frayed, arguments flaring over minutiae, doors slamming echoes. One night, thunderous row, me accusing evasion, him withdrawing shell-like. Silence after, oppressive, broken by his return, rain-soaked, arms enveloping. I'm scared of losing, he admitted, voice cracking. Forgiveness flowed, bodies reconciling in storm's rhythm, lightning illuminating vulnerability. Holiday lights twinkled resolutions. Therapy joint now, couch shared, therapists' insights weaving tighter bonds. Elena's visit cemented, kids calling me Uncle Alex, crayons scribbling art on fridge, magnetic chaos. The merger dust settled uneasily, ink drying on contracts that bound Apex tighter to a conglomerate behemoth. Logos merging like uneasy lovers, my designs smoothing the seams. Richard emerged battle-worn, victory Pyrrhic. Boardroom battles left him gaunt, suits hanging looser, eyes shadowed. I coaxed nutrition. Smoothies blended whirring, kale bitter but vital. Shared sips on the terrace as sun dipped, painting clouds bruise purple. Gratitude flickered in his smiles, faint but warming. Personal milestones marked time. Our first anniversary, rooftop redux, string lights aglow, bartender comping whiskeys with winks. He recreated the night, Negre's intentional, confession retold with laughter edging tears. Shook me then, grounds me now, he toasted, glass chiming mine, bubbles rising defiant. We danced slow under stars, city pulse sinking hours, his hand at nape guiding, stubble grazing cheek soft. Work-life blurred productively. My collective thrived, queer artists collaborating in pop-up studios, paint-splattered canvases airing turpentine tang. Richard guest spoke, anecdotes inspiring, Q&A electric with questions probing our journey. Media followed, joint interviews, cameras humming, his arm casual around my shoulders, words dovetailing seamless. Visibility's double-edged cut. Trolls spewing vitriol online, notifications buzzing venom, but supporters drowned them, hashtags trending solidarity. Family deepened, Jersey visit, dad's garage oil slicked, tools clanking as he grilled burgers, smoke curling acrid. Richard charmed, wrenching a loose bolt with ease, tales of Chicago fix-ups bonding. Mom's pie, lattice crust flaky, hugs lingering maternal. Elena's wedding, us best man tandem, tuxes synced, toasts dual. His heartfelt, mine humorous, dance floor yielding to our lead, aunties whispering approval. Challenges evolved subtler. Complacencies creep, routines calcifying, dinners rote, touches perfunctory. We reignited via spontaneity. Weekend in New Orleans, jazz horns wailing sultry, beignet sugared dusting lips, his kiss tasting powdered sweet. Bourbon streets revelry loosened inhibitions, hands linked unashamed, nights fevered in French Quarter inns, wrought iron balconies framing moonlit trysts. Therapy unearthed layers. My fear of inadequacy, rooted in freelance precarity, sessions voicing it shaky, Richard's squeeze affirming. His imposter syndrome, CEO facade cracking, admissions vulnerable over herbal teas steaming chamomile. Growth mutual, books exchanged, the velvet rage dog-eared, passages highlighted yellow, discussions late with wine decanting slow. Summer heatwave baked ambitions. Richard's nonprofit launch, funding LGBTQ plus tech scholarships, gala raising millions, auction paddles snapping bids. I am seed, Mike hot in palm, jokes landing laughs, his gaze from dais proud. Post-event, limo bound, exhaustion mingled triumph, his head on my shoulder dozing, city lights lulling. Autumn brought health scare, routine check flagging irregularity, cardiologist's office antiseptic, monitors beeping staccato. Waiting room magazines crinkled under anxious fingers, Richard's hand clammy in mine. Benign, stress-induced, but warning, slow down. We heeded, Yoga classes, mats unrolling thudding, breaths sinking in sun salutations, sweat beading commingled. Hikes upstate, trails leaf-strewn crunching, summits rewarding vistas vast, picnics unpacked cheese sharp, bread crusty. Holiday expansion. Hosting orphans, friends sans family, table groaning turkey golden, sides heaped colorful. Laughter cascaded, stories swapping raucous, midnight snowball fight in park, flakes melting cold on lashes, his tackle playful pinning me snow damp. Indoors, fire roaring, cocoa mugs steaming marshmallow frothed, toasts to found kin. New Year, resolutions rooted, travel lists scrawled, Japan cherry blossoms next spring, flights booked clicking confirmation, daily rituals cemented, morning runs, pavement pounding rhythmic, endorphins flushing, evening unwinds, baths drawn foaming lavender, bodies soaking languid, conversations bubbling deep. Spring renewal. Japan bloomed ethereal, petals drifting confetti pink, temples incense thick, his hand in mine navigating crowds, onsen soaks steaming mineral rich, skins pruned pruny. Kyoto gardens zen-raked gravel whispering peace, vows renewed under sakura canopy, falling blossoms veiling kisses soft. Back home, merger synergies bloomed, my designs integrated app-wide, user feedback glowing, emails praising intuitive. Richard's leadership lauded, panels inviting, spotlights shared. But envy nipped, a junior XX flirtations blatant, emails winking emojis. Richard's polite deflections noted but stinging. Confrontation brewed over dinner. Steak knives scraping plates tense. My accusation sharp. Am I enough? His rebuttal fervent. Chair shoved back scraping. Embrace dissolving barbs. Always. Only. Summer solstice circled. Rings anniversary polished. Dune revisit. Waves eternal. Vows evolved. Through evolutions. I evolve with you. Embrace horizon gazing. Gulls approving. Autumnal equinox. Non-profit milestone. First scholars graduating. Ceremony caps tossing skyward. Hugs teardamp. Richard's speech choked emotion. My arms steadying. Post-roast dinners clinking forks familial. Winter's grasp. Elena's pregnancy announcement. Ultrasound grainy on screen. Joy bubbling. We babysat practice. Niece tiny. Gurgles burbling. Midnight feedings bleary-eyed bonding. Richard's croon lullaby soft. Crisis redux. Economic dip. Apex layoffs looming. Memos terse. Richard shouldered. Office marathons fueled vending chips crunching. I supported. Resumes polished collaborative. Networks tapped empathetic. Storm passed. Skeleton crew resilient. His relief palpable in exhale long. Holiday crescendo. Full table. Dad toasting gruff. Mom's you'll log rich chocolate. Gifts unwrapped rustling. His watch engraved times hours. Mine journal leather-bound for dreams.
Springesse to mirror dinner blooms, mergers stabilized, apex innovating boulder, aietics panels uno moderated, voices diverse harmonizing.
Richard's profile soared. TED Talk scripted joint. Stage lights warm. Applause crashing waves. Backstage, kiss adrenaline-fueled. Confetti lingering in hair. Personal horizons widened. Adoption talks tentative. Agency visits crisp brochured. Fostering first. Teen boy, Jamal, wary-eyed, duffel clutched. Integration rocky. Bedroom posters taped crooked. Midnight talks pizza-fueled. Richard's patience saintly. My stories bridging. Breakthroughs incremental. High fives post-basketball. Court squeaking, Jamal's grin cracking shell. Summer zenith. Family road trip. RV reloaded. Canyons echoing whoops. Campfires storytelling crackling. Jamal thawed. Esmores sticky-fingered. Constellations pointed twinkling. Richard's guitar strumming folksy. Voices joining off-key harmonious. Autumn harvest. Collective exhibition. Gallery walls vibrant. openings wine-sipping schmoozing. Critics lauded, sales chiming registers, Richard's presence quiet support, arm-brushing proud. Winter solstice. Elena's birth, hospital sterile beeping, nephew cradled tiny, Richard's awe soft. Holidays amplified. Jamal's first, tree trimming ornaments clinking, his awe wide-eyed. New Year dawned commitments. Wedding plans whispered, venue scouted Hampton's beach, waves crashing vows. Invites scripted elegant, RSVPs fluttering in. Spring nuptials. Aisle petal strewn, gulls wheeling, suits linen light, rings exchanged salt-kissed, vows echoed. From confession to covenant, you shook my world into place. Dance reception sandy-toed, toasts bubbling, Jamal's ring-bearing grin beaming. Post-honeymoon. Italy villas olive-groved, pasta twirling al dente, life layered fuller. Apex thrived ethically, scholarships compounding legacies. Jamal's graduation cap-tossed, college-bound dreams voiced bold. Ages advanced gracefully. Richard's silver deepened distinguished, my laugh lines crow's feet earned. Therapy check-ins periodic, growth garden tended. Anniversaries cycled. Rooftop returns, lights eternal, confessions retold tender. Shook me, I echo, hand in his city eternal witness. Legacy unfolded. Memoirs co-authored, pages turning cathartic, launches signing cues snaking.
Non-profit global, chapters approaching inclusive.
Elder years glimpsed. Upstate porch rockers creaking, sunsets sipped lemonade tart, Jamal's visits grandkids towhead tumbling. Final chapters unwritten but foundation seismic. That night under lights, confessions quake birthing empire of two. Then more. Meaning etched. Love's not absence of storm, but dancing through, hands clasped defiant. Shaken, yes, but standing, intertwined, unbreakable. In the quiet mornings now, coffee brewing gurgle, his kiss temple soft, I whisper thanks. To chance drinks, bold truths, the man who saw me, as I him. Under dawn's gentle lights, our story continues, pages turning infinite.